Hey, what's up? Husman here, and today we're gonna dive a little bit deeper into my modular Eurorack. It's been a few weeks and I've had a lot of time to work with it and try some stuff out. Now in the first video I show you my first 3 modules, which was the IntelliGel Quad VCA, the Jack U and the U-Jack, not Jack U, and the plates from Mutual Instruments. Now I bought a few new ones. The first one that I bought is the Ericasynth Pico DSP, which is a effects processor, a stereo effects processor. So we have some reverb, some delay, some distortion, just to liven up the sounds a little bit. The next one is Stages by Mutable Instruments, which is a great way to create LFOs, ADSR, step sequences. And the last one was one of the most important ones, which is the IntelliGel U MIDI. So now I can finally send MIDI into the Eurorack so it can create some melodies. Later in this video I'm going to show you how I go about creating new sounds and what is the workflow that I use with it and what kind of sounds I can get to basically what kind of sounds I'm able to make right now with the modules that I have. I've hooked it up via my Scarlett to my Ableton, which will be recording all the sounds, and now with IntelliGel U MIDI I have the possibility to send my MIDI from Ableton into the Eurorack. But I found an even cooler way to control my Eurorack via my iPad. I found a really cool plugin, which is the ModStep plugin. So without further ado, I personally can't wait myself. Let's head into the modular world today. So here it is, the precious machine. And as you can see, there are already much more modules, cables. I've set up a small patch, and this patch is basically doing just a little, it's almost like a little bass sound. So the way I set everything up, I have the iPad sending the MIDI information to the IntelliGel micro MIDI, which then provides that information to the ADSR, which is the Mutable Instruments, and which then will tell the plats what it needs to do, which is where the sound is coming from. So basically iPad to MIDI device to ADSR/LFO to VCO, and then into my VCA and then to my output. Oh, actually that's not correct. Then I go from my VCA into my effects processor, which transforms it into a stereo signal, which is always nice, especially when you have some reverb going on and some delay that you don't want it to be all the way mono. So what I basically have now is, I will play it here. I've made a little patch. It might not necessarily sound like much, but for me starting into the modular world, it's really awesome that I can finally think about melodies and how to create more harmonic kind of sounds instead of just making one shot. So I think let's play around a little bit with this one. So let's have a go with it. Start playing. So we can do all sorts of cool stuff with it. We can play around in the VCO to just change the harmonics. And in this algorithm, it basically uses like a resonance and a filter, which gives it like this little sweep. And the same thing you can do with the frequency and the morphing. Well, I think that's enough for this patch. I think let's scrap everything and then just start something new. I can show you how to build up everything and then make probably mistakes as I go along. So we basically just have 2 cables left, the one going to the output and the one going to from the MIDI from the iPad. So let's make up just a simple pattern, which is just like one note, like an A sharp note. This is a really low one. Let's make it a little bit higher so I can easily just check it. Take a different note. Let's just go for a C note, which just gives us that information that we want. And now what we need to do, we need to send the sound somewhere. So we're gonna get a cable from the gate, the trigger or the gate. Oh, let's start with the pitch. Start with the pitch. The pitch out is gonna go to the pitch in of the plats, so the plats knows that whenever I change the pitch of a note that it needs to change it. So the next thing we need to do, send the plats into the VCA, and then the VCA we're gonna send into the output so that we can hear some sounds. I'm just gonna keep it mono for now. We might add some little stereo effects in there, but let's start small. And as you can hear, if I take this out, it should provide us with it. So this is basically a starting point. Right, not so cool. I'll put this one back in. What we're then gonna do, we're gonna add some gating effect. Tell them basically an on-off section of the sound. So we're gonna send this into the input of the stages. Now, the way this is set up, this is for me also a really complex module still, but I've learned that when you put it in this settings, it works from left to right. So if I plug something in here, this will affect everything going forward. And now, if I set it on the third one on the red flickering, set it on the red flickering light, and the other one's green, then it means I have an ADSR envelope, which I can then manipulate. And then I still have 2 left, which I can use as an LFO. So what we need to do now, we need to send this output signal into our VCA. So let's do that. And then we should have some fun things starting. Let's see. Yes. It's really silent still. As you can hear now, playing around with attack, decay, sustain, release, you can sculpt this sound as it were. But let's look for a different, cooler sound. Perhaps let's go for a pluck today. Not the best sound you will hear ever in the world, but for this one we can make a melody. So let's go into that, shut up, go into that pattern file. And we can even just use a keyboard. Let's go for something cool. Let's think of something. What could be nice for this one? For now, this will be my sound, and another of the benefits, like I don't know a lot of people, but I read online that when you go modular, you need to be only outside of the box and only inside of the Eurorack. But when it comes to making sounds, it's really great if you can have some sort of easy way to set out a clock. So I can basically just tell the MIDI sequence on my iPad to be at 128 BPM. And then I can just know for sure that the BPM will be at 128 when I export or record it. So now this is really dry, so let's add some reverb to it. So we're gonna take out the output and we're gonna basically send it, need a longer cable. Basically send it from the output of the VCA into the input of my Pico DSP. And then we're gonna send that one to the left and to the right. And guys, if you think, well, I hope he doesn't struggle every time he does this. No, it will only get better, I hope. Well, let's hear what we got now. As you can hear, just playing around with it, you already get a really much different kind of sound. And the only thing that I noticed when playing around with the Pico DSP, that it will become quite distorted real fast. So I need to really watch my levels when it comes out from the VCA into the DSP. Now, I quite like this timbre effect. So what I could do is add an LFO to that. So let's see what we can find. So I'm gonna use yellow cable. So we're gonna use a designated gate input and send it to one of the free LFOs that we still got. Now we need to make this sure that this is flickering. And now we can set with this knob, we can set the amount. It will go between the 0 and 100 value, and then this one will control the speed. Let's see what this does. Okay. Let's see what kind of different effects we can add to this as well. Let's play around with some different algorithms for this melody. Yeah, and the great way about the Platts module is that whenever you find something whenever you send it to the ADSR and use cool reverb and some effects to it and you have a melody, you have lots of different algorithms which can play that same melody with just a flick of the switch. So now the sound has totally changed because we went from one algorithm to the next one. Now, that's a cool filter effect, which I think I'd like to use. So we're gonna make sure that this will be an LFO as well. Increase the dry wet. Well, I'd say that sounds pretty damn dope. And then last thing that I want to do for today is want to show you one of my favorite features that it can be on the Platts, but sometimes it just isn't. You can also manipulate the model it's playing. So all these little models, yeah, like the algorithms that I've talked about. You have the green ones, which are more the synthy, and the red ones, which are more the percussive ones. You can put those through an LFO, so it basically goes scaling with this melody, scaling through all these different algorithms. So let's remove this one from the timbre and then just add it to model. It will, don't take my word for this that this will sound good, but it can. Let's see. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. I certainly did. I'm having a lot of fun with this. It's like totally different way of making music because you don't necessarily know particularly what the outcome will be, and just tweaking the knobs and playing out with the cables and just patching stuff is so much fun. And the great thing is that I was beforehand thought I wouldn't get any melodic out of it, but I've already noticed that I've got lots of sounds which are really cool to incorporate in my own productions. Also, for this month's Patreon pack, I made a lot of modular sounds which are exclusive for all you patrons. The Patreon pack will be out, I think Thursday, but might be Friday. Don't hold me accountable for that. One more thing, this Thursday there will be another feedback live stream, so send your music to the link below and I will have a look at what you've made. I'm looking forward to hear your music. That's all for me this week. I really hope you like this video. If you like what I do, hit that like button. If you haven't already, subscribe, and then I see you guys on the next video. Take care. Bye bye.